Hi everyone! Before we dive into this week's episode, please check out our promo of the week.
It's time to feel the rage. Join us on Film Rage, where we talk movies, current releases, coming attractions, streaming, and classic films as well. Directors and actors beware, as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim.
Hey.
And Murray.
Yo.
Why is it you always talk all the time? I can't understand why your
sweet
voice
voice.
is so...
This is the Merman, the voice of reason. These two can't agree on anything most of the time. Some movies are mondo, some are just suck. Every week something is going to make us rage. Join us every Wednesday and
Feel the rage.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Joe.
And this is CrimeDivers.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's episode.
Hello everyone, welcome back.
So, today we have a lot-a-sode.
Yep, it is a lot of so today.
So where in the world are we?
We are in America.
And what is the name of your episode?
It is called Mystery in the Minivan.
Oh, okay, so
It's a mystery.
a bit of a mystery.
Yes, there is a mystery. Let's say, I'll tell you obviously what happens, but there's a lot of questions over it, so
Right. Okay, so do you want to dive in?
let's dive in. So Sunday, the 26th of July, 2009, was a date that changed the family's lives forever.
Okay.
Diane Schuler and her husband Danny had been at their camping trailer at the Hunter Lake campground in Parksville, New York. They'd been there with their two kids, which were 5-year-old Brian and 2-year-old Erin. They also had Diane's brother's 3 daughters, 8-year-old Emma, 7-year-old Alison, and 5-year-old Katie. So they'd obviously, been away on the trip, and the trip had come to an end, and it was time for them all to go home. So Diane had actually borrowed her brother's minivan, which was a red 2003 Ford Windstar. So all the kids piled into her car, whilst her husband Danny was driving home separately in their pickup. He had the family dog with him, so I don't know why it was decided that they all went with
Right.
Diane, but for some reason they all went with her.
Well, she had a minivan, and maybe
Yeah.
she must have more space.
Oh
for
yeah,
it.
she would have had space for them all, but sometimes they might go, oh, Mom, I'll go with Dad, or whatever.
right,
Yeah,
okay.
but so for whatever reason, they'd obviously decided, just to go with Diane. So Danny had obviously, say driven home separately. So they all left at the same time, which was about 9:30 in the morning.
Mhm.
So let's say now, I'm going to tell you that sadly there was a terrible car accident involving Diane and the kids.
Oh no.
But I think it's important to tell you the timeline of what happened after they left the campsite, that it eventually ended up with the car accident.
Right.
So this information that I found is obviously based on witnesses' accounts and CCTV footage, so this is what we know.
Right. Okay.
So Diane and the kids, they left the campsite at 9:30 a.m, like I said, and on the way back, Diane stopped at a McDonald's restaurant and also a Sunoco gas station in Liberty. Now, I've seen the CCTV footage of her going into the shop at the garage, so, like on the forecourt, they'll go into like a forecourt shop.
Yeah.
So I've seen that CCTV footage. So she parks at a petrol pump, but she doesn't fill her car up.
Mhm.
She literally walks straight into the shop. So from what I saw on the camera, she just has a quick look around, and then walks out again. But
She's not buying anything.
there's no audio, so you can't
Right.
hear anything. So it's just literally she goes in, seems to have a bit of a look around, and then you see her walking out again.
Maybe she was looking for something in particular and they didn't have it.
Yeah, but what I was thinking, to myself was, it does baffle me, why, I don't know, I might be wrong, but why does CCTV not have audio? Maybe
Yeah,
there is
'cause it was
places.
only what was it, 2009, did you say?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's
Yeah, but I just wonder
an
why,
older case.
when you see, because obviously I've seen, other, programmes and, true crime programmes or other sorts of programmes.
Uh-huh. What are you laughing at?
You're being silly.
I'm not being silly. Right, okay. I'm really hot. So I've got this freezer pack thing and I'm trying to rub it on myself.
Yeah, you're
But
making
it's really
faces.
cold.
Stop
'Cause it's
making
really
faces. Yeah, anyway, let me get back to my case.
cold. We're having a heat wave.
Yes, we are having a heat wave. So yeah, so I just, because I just thought it might clear up a lot of things on CCTV, if it had audio a bit so you could hear what was going on and...
Yeah, but maybe the place that it was at, maybe they just didn't have sophisticated.
I don't know. I've just seen
CCTV.
other programs where I've seen CCTV without audio. I mean, I don't know if that's a thing, or maybe there's different ones. I don't know.
I think that's an older thing.
Is it? I don't know.
Well,
But anyway, but I thought maybe it was something to do with, like, privacy or something, you know.
I honestly don't know. I haven't got a clue.
But I just think, like, in cases like this, it could probably clear quite a lot of things up, because obviously as we go on, I think audio would have been really good
Right.
to understand a few things about what's happened, but obviously there wasn't any audio. So I said, you know, the CCTV. So she obviously went to the shop and then looked around and walked back out. So Diane's husband Danny, his sister-in-law, and an investigator acting on their behalf all made claims that Diane had spoken to the Sunoco shop worker while attempting to buy over-the-counter pain relief medication.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently the gas station didn't sell any. But this is what I'm confused about, is that from the CCTV that I saw, obviously you didn't see like anybody else in it, you just literally saw her come in the shop, so you didn't see who was behind the counter. You didn't see the member of staff. But to me, it didn't look like she spoke to anybody. So I don't know whether that CCTV was like edited, because it was a documentary that I was watching this on.
Right.
So I don't know whether that...
I was going to say, it could have been edited.
Yeah, but it didn't look like... It looked like she just walked in, had a look around, and then walked straight back out. It didn't look like she was talking to anybody.
She might have been talking while she was looking around and you've just not seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I might be wrong, but to me it just didn't look like it. So I was a bit like, oh, right, okay, but I didn't know. But then, obviously, the claims cannot be verified, as apparently the employee never spoke to the police nor gave any statements or interviews, which is just crazy. But then I do have something later on that contradicts that, so I didn't really understand that, because...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused already.
I know, well, exactly, according to this, I mean, you'd think that the person would have been interviewed and obviously by the police, but the bit that I sort of researched there said that it didn't. But as I said, there's a contradiction later on when I find out more information, so I'm not convinced on that one. But anyway,
right, okay.
So, yeah, and like I said to you, so, you know, I just didn't think, you know, it didn't look like she'd spoken to the employee, but as I said, that's just my opinion. I might be totally wrong on that.
Okay.
So Diane left Liberty just after 11 a.m, travelling along Route 17, Interstate 86, and the New York throughway entering the Rampado-Slotsburg service area. Sorry if I've got that wrong. And then obviously she travelled across the Tappan Zee Bridge heading east. So several witnesses later reported seeing a red minivan driving aggressively on Route 17, including aggressively tailgating, flashing headlights, beeping the horn, moving in and out of lanes, and straddling like the two lanes.
Uh-huh.
So at 11:37 a.m, Diane called her brother Warren Hance, so that was the father of the three girls.
The kids, yeah.
Yeah. From the van. She told him that they were being delayed by traffic, so that's why they were taking a long time to get home.
Right.
But apparently it was later stated that there had been no major traffic that day, so there was no like traffic jams or anything like that.
Oh.
So according to a police report, Diane was seen by witnesses at around 11:45 a.m. by the side of the road with her hands on her knees as if she was being sick. She was seen again a short time later at a rest stop doing the same thing, like on her knees.
Right.
Apparently looked like she'd been sick. So at about 1 p.m, another call was made to Warren Hance from Diane's mobile. During this call, one of Diane's nieces spoke to their dad and said, "I think there's something wrong with Aunt Diane." She also said her aunt was having trouble seeing and speaking clearly. Diane herself apparently then talked to Warren and said she was disorientated and could not see clearly. Police do believe that Diane was actually pulled over for at least part of that call. So Warren, you know, I think like probably any normal person would do, he told Diane, "Stay off the road.
Yeah.
I'll come up and meet you."
Uh-huh.
But obviously, he must have tried to phone her again, because follow-up calls from Warren and Diane, they were never answered.
Okay.
So at this point, for some reason, she left her phone on the highway, as it was found by another motorist by the side of the road. So she, dumped her phone, dropped her phone, or whatever reason, her phone did not continue in the car there
Okay.
for some
This
reason.
is strange.
So investigators, they didn't determine what route Diane took to get to the Taconic State Parkway, which is where the accident happened. So they were not sure how she got onto that
Right.
part, because there must be like many routes around.
Yeah.
So they're not exactly sure how she got there. But at 1:33 p.m, 2 drivers called 911 after noticing Diane's van edging onto the northbound exit ramp. It is clearly marked with 2 signs that read, "Do not enter" and "one way."
Right.
So literally she was obviously going onto the wrong way of the motorway.
So she's still driving and she can't see properly.
Well, that's according to these phone calls that she's had to her brother.
And
That's,
judging by the fact that she's ignoring these signs.
she's obviously not seeing properly.
Oh,
I know, I mean...
why would you continue to drive?
Well, exactly,
though?
because I mean, the fact that she was already pulled over and she said she wasn't feeling right,
Yeah.
then I'm not sure why she would then continue to drive again.
Unless she just wasn't thinking straight. I don't know what she had in her system.
Well,
or...
exactly. So, I mean, obviously we don't know what made her start driving again.
Right.
Especially
okay.
after being pulled over and saying to her brother on the phone, "Look, I'm not
Yeah.
feeling right," and he's saying, "Right, I'm going to come and get you, or I'm going to come meet you." So,
Right, okay.
something's obviously made her decide to carry on driving.
Unless she did feel better.
Well,
But that doesn't sound like it if she's
exactly.
going the wrong way.
I know. So within the next minute, 4 more 911 calls were made by motorists who reported that a car was travelling the wrong way down the parkway, going approximately 75 to 85 miles per hour.
Oh my
So that's
goodness.
fast.
That is fast.
Going the wrong way on the motorway.
Yeah.
It's quite scary.
That is really scary. Can you imagine seeing that coming towards you?
Well, I know. That's what it is. I mean, I've heard of instances of it happening like around here before.
Yeah.
I actually remember, I don't know if I told you, but there was one day I was coming down to you, and there's the roundabout, you know, at the end where the new shops and that are
Yeah.
built. So I was coming round there from Gladsmuir, and a car had went down the exit from the motorway, the A1, like it was actually heading towards it, and there was like somebody had stopped and they were beeping and flashing. Now I'll be honest, obviously I just kept going, so I think if I remember rightly, I remember seeing the car put its brakes on, so I think maybe it had realised before it got onto the road. But I was like, oh my god, like imagine that.
Yeah, so can you imagine one coming like at 75, 80 miles an hour?
Exactly. So the van apparently managed to travel for about 1.7 miles, but then, as we know, there was an accident. It collided head-on at about 1:35 with a 2004 Chevrolet Trailblazer, which the Chevrolet Trailblazer then struck a 2002 Chevrolet Tracker. And at the time of impact, Diane was going about 85 miles an hour.
Wow.
So you can imagine.
Yeah, that's that's fast.
So 2 men who witnessed the crash ran to try and help, and they managed to get Diane out of the car. And they actually noted later that they saw a vodka bottle in the van.
Oh, okay.
Now, I you know, when you're like, you know, Googling for research and stuff like that, there was actually a picture
No.
of Diane's body.
No.
Which I'm assuming, I mean, obviously I don't know whether it was real or not, but
Right.
I mean, there was a couple of pictures of her. Obviously, sadly, Diane did die. And there was a couple of pictures of her just with like sort of blood on her face, and I think maybe her hands were up, I can't remember, but I was just like, what am I looking at here? Like, I didn't really expect to sort of see it.
No,
It was
I mean,
kinda-
you can see crime scene photos or, you know, accident. I mean, is this a crime?
Well, we don't know yet.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm like, is it a crime? I suppose, like,
Yeah,
if
but
there's
I did
vodka, that's drunk driving.
I know, but I did see pictures
But yeah,
of
like,
her.
you do see photos, and sometimes I do wonder, is that real, or is it...
Yeah, because
No.
like, is that actually really her body? So I don't know. It's just
That's
what I've
awful if
seen.
it is, though, because imagine... I mean, you don't want to just be innocently looking for something and you come across that for a start. But not even that. Like, her, you know, the person's family. What I wouldn't want my, you know, deceased family member, you know, their photo of their dead body being on the internet for
Exactly.
the world to see.
Because obviously, I mean, there was pictures of like the incident, you know, the accident.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see anything. It was just like you could see like the cars, and I think that there was maybe like a, you know, I don't know if it was like a something sheet or whatever covering, but like then I just flicked and there was like
No, that's not. That
and
shouldn't
it
be
did,
allowed.
and it did say Diane's body, and I thought, oh,
That shouldn't be allowed.
so I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, so let's say that, you know, they saw the vodka bottle. So they did try to pull the girls out of the van, but noted that they had no pulse because apparently all the children had ended up piled on top of each other. That's how they were
Oh.
found. And the other men didn't actually notice 5-year-old Brian because he was lodged under one of the girls, so they didn't even realise he was there at the time.
Oh.
They obviously just initially thought it was the girls, but he was like right, you know, piled under one of them. So sadly, Diane, her daughter Erin, and 2 of her nieces died at the scene of the crash. The 3 men in the Trailblazer that she struck, so that Diane struck, they also died.
Oh.
And they were 81-year-old Michael Bastardi, his 49-year-old son Guy, and their friend 74-year-old Dan Longo. The 2 occupants of the tracker, they only suffered minor injuries because they were the ones that were hit by the 3 men.
Right, yeah.
So they weren't like directly struck,
Yeah.
but they were obviously struck in the aftermath of it.
Oh God, can you imagine though? Like just the shock of it, the fright of it,
I know.
knowing how lucky you've been when all these other people have died.
Well, exactly. So they only suffered minor injuries, thankfully. So Diane's severely injured third niece and her son Brian were taken to the hospital, but sadly her niece died later that day.
Oh.
Brian was the only survivor of Diane's car. He suffered broken bones and severe head trauma, but did eventually return home in early October. So the crash happened in July. He returned.
And did
home
he
in
make a
October.
full recovery?
He did have some kind of impairment or something on his head, but unfortunately I couldn't really find a lot of information about Brian.
Well, maybe he didn't want it out there.
Yeah,
You know,
so I mean,
maybe
because I tried to sort of, figure out what, how he was living now, etc.
Yeah.
But all I know is that he had some kind of head trauma that
Right.
he suffered from. But
he maybe just wants to live his life in privacy, which is very understandable.
yeah, exactly. So the investigation of the accident drew, of course, nationwide attention. Diane's husband, Danny, he strongly disagreed with the conclusion that Diane was heavily intoxicated at the time of the crash, because obviously in the documentary there was a press conference with the police, and they released their findings, which found that Diane had a blood alcohol content of 0.19%. The legal limit for driving while intoxicated in New York is 0.08%.
Right.
So the report also said that Diane had high levels of the main ingredient of marijuana in her system as well.
Ah. And did he say that?
Well, yeah, because after the police press conference, Danny responded to the report and denied that his wife was an alcoholic. Basically sang her praises, saying how good a mum she was and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I suppose he probably doesn't want his wife to be painted in a bad light, I guess. But he was just like, nah, she doesn't drink.
What about the marijuana? Like, does she smoke?
We'll get on to that.
Oh, right, okay.
But I mean, at this point, he's just like totally.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he basically just saying, look, this is not what happened. Something else has happened here. Like, this is not, this is not my wife.
But if she had alcohol in her system, though.
Well,
I mean, I can understand he's saying she's not an alcoholic, but that doesn't mean to say that she hasn't had a drink.
Well, because as I'm just about to tell you, he then changed his story, saying that she never drank to excess, but denied that she could have been drunk that day. So he must have done a few talk show interviews, as both Larry King and Oprah Winfrey asked Danny about the vodka bottle in the van. Mm-hmm. So he obviously, after this, because I think he was just totally like,
no, not my wife.
Yeah, not my wife. Yeah, so
I
say, because it had been quite a big deal, he was, obviously invited onto these shows. But of course, they asked the question, let's say, about the vodka bottle in the van, and he claimed that they always kept an old bottle in their camper. He further stated that Diane did all the packing for the camping trip and must have moved the bottle into the van. So I don't know whether he means that they've always had a bottle of vodka in the camper when they've been away, and maybe she's decided to bring it home from the trip.
Right.
That was his explanation for the vodka bottle in the van, but
we're never gonna know. I mean, there might have been a logical explanation for it. There might, she might have been drinking. We don't know.
I know. But then again, Danny also eventually admitted that he and his wife had consumed alcohol during the camping trip, but denied that Diane had drank anything the day before the crash. The campground co-owner, who had gotten to know the family quite well, he said that he had seen them off at 9:30 that morning, and stated that Diane appeared to be sober.
Right.
So he didn't think that she was drunk at that point. But that doesn't mean she hadn't been drinking.
Yeah, I know, that doesn't mean she hasn't been
drinking. And in fact, he keeps changing his story about what she's drinking, and if she's drinking, it kind of makes... That's starting to make me now doubt, like, what's going on.
The way that I see it, at the end of the day, he wasn't with her from 9:30. What time was the crash at? Was it about 1 o'clock? About 1 o'clock or something? So that's a few hours where that you could quite easily have a good few drinks.
No, exactly.
And so he might claim, yeah, I know my wife, but your wife is still perfectly entitled to do things that you're not going to know about, and you weren't with her, so...
Exactly. So, you know how I said about a bit of contradiction earlier? This is where I found some contradiction. Was that there was a private investigator hired by Danny's lawyers called Tom Ruskin, and he said that none of the McDonald's employees had seen anything in Diane to suggest that she was intoxicated, but he also said that the gas station employees said that he knows for a fact that Diane wasn't drunk. So that's where I'm confused, because obviously I'm now thinking, so before it said that the employee didn't even talk to the police or interviewed.
So how is he now saying that she wasn't drunk?
Exactly, but then I'm like, well, obviously this is a private investigator, so did a private investigator go along and speak to the employee? But then I'm thinking, but why wouldn't the police have spoke to the employee if they had found that she had visited the gas station? Then why wouldn't they? So it's a bit of a contradiction. I mean, obviously, my information might be slightly off there, I'm not sure, but...
Yeah, I get that. I mean, like, you know, sometimes, like, when you're researching, there is things, you know, maybe missed out, or maybe things that you just miss.
Yeah.
But so you would think that the police are going to visit every single witness there is, whether they spoke to them or not, like, even if they just seen them.
So I'm thinking maybe that the gas station employee probably was spoken to, but as I said, I mean, he said that he knows for a fact. I don't know how he knows for a fact.
Yeah, that was exactly going to be my next question. How can you know for a fact? Mm-hmm. You can't know for a fact if somebody's drunk. Because there's plenty of people that can act sober.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's plenty of people in this world that you can be speaking to and they sound perfectly sober-like, but yet they've
or she might not have been drunk. She might have been drinking, but she might not have drunk. You know, everybody's different. You get drunk quicker than others do. You know, she could have had a few drinks.
Exactly. And also the McDonald's employees also said that she held a conversation while ordering her food. But again, to me, a drunk person can hold a conversation while ordering stuff. That doesn't tell me anything.
No.
So I'm not sure how relevant that is to deciding whether she was drunk or not. So Tom Ruskin, the private investigator, he told reporters in early September that he had interviewed Diane's relatives, and none of them, they all said that none of them had ever seen Diane drunk. So none of her relatives had ever seen Diane drunk, apparently.
Okay.
He also pointed to autopsy results that showed an absence of organ damage often found in chronic alcoholics. Although an uninvolved medical examiner noted that such results could not rule out alcohol abuse. So just because their insides are any damaged doesn't mean they can't be drinking to excess.
Yes, of course.
But he was obviously throwing the doubt on that, saying that, well, if she was an alcoholic, there probably should be some damage to her insides or whatever. So Diane's family, they've also disputed that Diane was known to drink heavily or irresponsibly. So again, none of these people are saying that in her normal life that she drinks alcohol regularly, she drinks excessively. So that's why they're like, nah, there's no way she could be drunk. But I mean, again, how can you really know? I mean,
is there a chance that she could have had a little drink but taken something else that's like clashed with it?
Possibly,
you know?
Yeah, I don't know. So there are more conflicting responses about Diane's use of marijuana as well. As Danny initially denied Diane did illegal drugs, but then he told investigators that she smoked marijuana occasionally. The family told People magazine that she used it to help with her insomnia. So they said that she did smoke marijuana.
I just think that he's just been trying to... He didn't want his wife painted in a bad light.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. But unfortunately, you know, people died. These children died. You know, the other people in the other car. I mean, their families deserve to know the truth.
Exactly. So in the November, it was reported that Diane's sister-in-law had made a statement to the police that Diane had in fact smoked marijuana on a regular basis. So see, so
I think he was just trying to. I don't think he realised that people were going to be probing and trying to get to the bottom of it. And
but Danny, I keep calling him Danny. He's really Daniel.
Yeah,
I'll call him Danny. Sorry. And his lawyer believed that Diane was driving erratically due to a sudden medical emergency, such as a stroke. Apparently, Diane had been obese for much of her life, and she suffered from diabetes, although sources said that Diane had experienced gestational diabetes, which is related to pregnancy, rather than a chronic condition. Diane was also said to have had an abscess in her mouth for about 7 weeks prior to her death, and a lump in her leg which might have been an embolism, but the results of the autopsy found that Diane had not suffered an aneurysm or a heart attack. So like they're obviously trying to say that she basically had a medical emergency,
which yeah, that is believable. But then if the autopsy said no, then
a New York forensic pathologist noted that a hair test should have been carried out to determine Diane's drug history, but that wasn't carried out at the time of her autopsy.
Oh.
So Danny and his lawyer announced plans to exhume Diane's body in order to carry out the hair test and other examinations. But other experts said this was unlikely to produce any new information, as tests from 2 separate labs had come to identical conclusions, and Danny also intended to have the fluid samples retested that were initially taken from her autopsy, but the medical examiner's office said that the chemical degradation over time would likely result in a lower alcohol reading. However, several toxicology experts said that if the fluid samples had been properly stored, the retest results would be similar to the original, so it didn't seem like there would be any gains from that, basically. So in July 2010, so this was a year after the crash, it was reported that Danny had accepted $100,000 from a film company called Moxie Firecracker Films to record his wife's exhumation for an HBO documentary.
Okay.
This money was reportedly to be placed in a trust for Brian.
Okay.
But as far as I'm aware, her body was never exhumed, because I researched and tried and googled and all the rest of it, and I don't think it ever happened. There was a documentary made, which was called "There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane."
Yeah.
But that wasn't.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
But that wasn't the one that he was offered the money for. But there was which is a documentary that I did watch. So again, there's more conflicting reports, as Danny had said initially that Diane hadn't been drinking the night before the crash, but apparently they had both been drinking the night before. Apparently they'd also argued. Danny also lied about what day they got to the campsite, which might not seem that significant, but to me it just points out that he wasn't always telling the truth on things straight away. So he just kept saying things, and this obviously started to upset the victims of the victims' families of the men that died in the crash, because they were getting really annoyed that he kept going on these TV shows and basically trying to say that his wife was all this and all that, and they were getting really upset by it.
And that's totally understandable.
Totally. So in June 2010, following 11 months of analysis, the New York State Police issued its final report on the accident. The report upheld the previous toxicology findings that at the time of the accident, Diane was highly intoxicated by alcohol and had high levels of the main ingredient of marijuana in her system. The crash was also ruled a homicide soon after it occurred, because the victims were killed due to Diane Schuler's negligent driving, regardless of toxicology findings.
All right.
So on the 18th of August, the Westchester County District Attorney Janet DeFore said that no charges would be filed in the incident because Diane was the only person responsible for the deaths, and she quoted, "Diane Schuler died in the crash and the charges died with her."
Right, okay.
So on the 10th of December 2009, the Bastardi family filed a lawsuit against Diane and her brother Warren Hance, seeking unspecified damages for wanton, willful and reckless conduct. According to the family's lawyers, they were required by state law to include Warren in the suit because he was the owner of the van. Because obviously that was her brother that they tried to sue him because it was his van.
But he wasn't driving it.
Well, exactly, but I think they were basically saying that his van wasn't safe.
I was going to say maybe unfit to drive or something like that.
So basically they had to include him in a lawsuit and against
but so that was his children that died.
Mm-hmm.
So not only has his sister and his children and his niece died, but he's also getting a lawsuit.
Exactly. I know. So
Okay.
in July 2011, Jackie Hance, so she was Warren's wife, so the mother of the 3 girls that died.
Right, yeah.
She filed a suit against Danny, her brother-in-law. The suit claimed that the 3 deceased Hance girls suffered terror, fear of impending death, extreme horror, fright and mental anguish. And on the 26th of July 2011, the day after the premiere of the HBO documentary, which was There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane, which was actually coincided with the 2nd anniversary of the crash, Danny himself sued the state for not keeping the road safe, and also his brother-in-law Warren, as he was the owner of the minivan. So Danny sued the state for not keeping the road safe, and then he also sued his brother-in-law because he had the minivan.
There's an awful lot of lawsuits going on here.
Yeah, but as I would tell you, by 2014, all lawsuits by all parties were either settled or dropped.
Yeah.
So I don't really know exactly the outcomes of the specific ones, but I mean, yeah.
It just seems like...
Everybody was trying to sue everybody for
Yeah, it just seems a bit much. I mean, like, you know, there's been deaths and, like, blaming the... What was it? The state for the road or whatever it was.
Exactly,
like,
and it's like, well...
That was not their fault. And, like, the van, I mean, you know, just because he owns the van doesn't mean... You know, I just think none of them should have even been entertained.
No, exactly. But as it sounds, I mean, I don't think many of them got very far. So in August 2009, New York, so this was like literally a month after the initial crash, New York Governor David Paterson proposed the Child Passenger Protection Act, which would make it a felony to drive while intoxicated if a passenger under the age of 16 is in the vehicle, which I just find ridiculously crazy.
But it should be a crime anyway.
That's what I would thought.
Doesn't matter who's in the car.
But back here, you wouldn't be drinking or driving with any, like, it's a crime to drink or drive at all. But obviously back in 2009, you could obviously drink so much, I think, and drive.
Yeah, we had that before, but we're at 0 now, aren't we?
Yeah,
like, you could have, like, sort of one drink and you could drive.
I don't know what the...
I don't know what this... What
but
is in America.
So this became known as Leandra's Law, because that was following the death of an 11-year-old girl called Leandra Rosado, and she had died in October 2009, so that was 3 months. 3 months after Diane's crash, yeah. So basically, it was because of that this law must have been... Because that was the other one.
I can't believe that law only just came into effect. That should have always been the law.
So that was signed in but that was only signed into New York law on the 18th of November 2009. Now, obviously, I mean, many years have passed since then, so maybe it's more...
Yeah. I just think that's bizarre that wasn't already a law.
I don't know, because I think, like, for me, I know, like, years ago, you could maybe have 1 or 2 drinks and drive here, but I just can't imagine that now. It's just like, no, you just shouldn't be drinking and driving.
Especially not with a child in your car.
Yeah, exactly. So, I believe that Warren and Jackie Hance, they went on to have another child through IVF because they went through, obviously, a very, very difficult time.
Well, yeah, of course.
They even did, like, a suicide pact where they thought that one of them would kill themselves so that one of them could go and be with the girls and stuff. And I thought, well, that's quite heartbreaking. But they were convinced to, to have another child. I don't know whether that would, maybe not to forget the girls, but just
I think it would maybe help them heal.
Yeah,
to have another child. It wouldn't like replace the other children, but yeah, maybe help them heal, give them a focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like surely if your 3 children die, surely you're going to be having like suicidal thoughts and like what's the point in going on? But at least if they have another child, that's a reason for them.
Totally. So thankfully, neither of them went through that.
That's good.
They also formed a foundation called the Hance Family Foundation as well. But as I said to you earlier, I couldn't really find any up-to-date information on Danny or Brian. Like, I don't really know how they're living now, what's going on now in their lives. So I'm not really sure. But the question I'm going to ask is, what did happen that day? Like, was she drunk? What do you think? Because, I mean, the results obviously say that she had alcohol in her system, so was she drunk?
But and it said that she had marijuana in her system. Was there anything else? Like, because she was looking for pain medication. Did she have pain medication?
It just said that she had the main ingredient of what makes up marijuana was in her system, and she had obviously the high levels of alcohol in her system.
But it just sounds like she must have been drunk because obviously she was over the limit. There was a vodka bottle in the car. And
she drove the wrong way down.
Yeah, the autopsy said it wasn't like a medical thing. So was she that drunk that she couldn't see properly? But then, but why did she continue to drive?
Because that's the point that gets me, is that she did stop the car.
She did the sensible thing and stopped.
And obviously had spoke to her brother on the phone.
Sensible.
And told, obviously, that one of her nieces and her had both said that she wasn't feeling well, she couldn't see properly. So why did she then continue to drive?
Exactly. I mean, like, because she did the sensible thing. That's what I'm saying. She phoned somebody. She told them that her brother said, "Wait there, I'll come and get you." That's the most sensible thing to do, and they could have got her medical help if she needed it, or whatever.
I think I forgot to mention, obviously, like Brian, obviously, he didn't, because he was only 5 at the time, so he didn't obviously remember the full thing, but he did say that I think he remembered you know, about her vision and not being able to see properly, but that's all the information I could find about what he said about it, so I don't really know if...
But yeah, I mean, as you said, he was only 5.
Yeah, exactly, so he's probably not going to remember...
He's probably not... A 5-year-old maybe wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. He might have been doing something in the car. He could have had a colouring-in book, or he could have been distracted in some other way. But then, of course, there's a shock as well. Maybe that's why he can't remember, because of the shock.
Well, what drove her to do that, though? Because, I mean... Alright, they've said that they've had an argument the night before, but then her family tells you that, you know, they've never seen her drunk before, you know, she's not normally like that, so I mean, what the hell happened?
Exactly, because like, I just think if you're going to have a drink, why didn't you wait till later? Like, get your kids, get your nieces home, and then go and drink and be pissed off because you had an argument or whatever, whatever it was.
And that's why about going back to the gas station, going in the shop, because... Honestly, the one that I saw, you just literally saw her go in, she kind of went like that, and then she went back out. And I just didn't see her, to me, lips weren't moving, she wasn't talking. But then, I mean, but she was, obviously, I'd say it's just what I saw. But that's where audio would be great, because then you could hear what she'd maybe asked for, or if she you know, how she had been.
I wonder if she's had some sort of mental
breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, if you remember... If we did I can't remember what it was called, the Madness on the Motorway, the twins.
Yes.
And when they ran out into the traffic and everything like that, they had like a moment of madness.
Yeah.
It was a mental
breakdown.
Breakdown, and then afterwards they were both perfectly fine, and there was no sign of it or whatever. So could it have been something like that? Could she be having a mental break? Because I just find it strange that somebody who apparently is living a normal life, you know, as you said, not an alcoholic, not this, that and the next thing, would actually get in a car and drive under the influence with children in her car, plus stopping, telling somebody that she's not well and she can't see properly, but continuing to drive.
And then there was the 2 moments where witnesses said that they saw on the side of the road what they thought was being sick.
She was being sick, yeah.
Had she been drinking and ended up her being sick, you know.
But then, if that makes sense, but what doesn't make sense is the fact that she continued.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense if she was drinking in the first place because she had children.
Yeah.
But, okay, I'm sure plenty of people have done it before, you know, but we'll forget that bit. But, you know, to actually carry on afterwards, that's what's making me think, was it something mentally?
That's it, you had, whether you pulled over for the right reasons or whatever, you were pulled over, you actually spoke to your brother on the phone, he was going to come and meet you. What made her think, actually, I'm going to carry on driving?
Yeah, that's why I do.
And then not answering the phone either.
Yeah, but she left her phone.
Oh yeah, she left her phone, sorry, you're right, yeah. So yeah, why did she leave her phone?
Or maybe she did it, maybe she just dropped it and didn't realise.
Well, that's it, because I mean, I don't know, when they were pulled over, I don't know where they spoke to him, like, were they outside the car when she was speaking, were they inside the car? I mean, obviously that's not clear, but something made her get back in that car and keep driving. And whether she purposely meant to go down that
See, I just don't...
Not, I don't know.
No.
So that's why
I mean, was there a thing... Was there anything mentioned about her being maybe suicidal?
No, not as far.
You know, like with regards to driving the wrong way. But surely, I mean, why would you do it with the children in the car?
Oh, exactly.
And why would you do it when you can hurt? Well, I don't know. You don't know what's going on in people's minds.
That's exactly why it's a mystery in the minivan. Exactly. We don't really know what's happened. I mean, you can kind of. I mean, to be honest, I think she maybe obviously was drunk to me. I think, but you know whether it's.
But it's funny how you can. It's funny how you could be so drunk that you go the wrong way, you know, on the motorway.
And they drove for like nearly 2 miles.
No, but what I'm trying to say is like that's amazing. Like you could be so drunk as to do that, but you can appear sober when you're at the shop, you know, at the garage and the McDonald's. That's what
I know, because I'm thinking, was she drinking as she was going along driving?
Oh yeah, and getting drunker as she goes along. But
then obviously because she was. The witnesses were correct in saying that she was being sick, then to me that's her already have drank quite a lot before that to be at the point where she's maybe being sick. So unfortunately I think it's just going to be a mystery.
It's always going to be a mystery, isn't it? I mean the only thing would be Brian remembering, but I mean as I said he was 5 years old.
Exactly.
And if he's not remembered by now, you know, like what, back 2009. So
and the fact that he's obviously got, you know, he had
he's got the trauma, his head trauma.
Exactly. So I mean, you know, it's maybe just.
That's awful though. The amount of people that have died. You know, the children, the men in the other
innocent
car.
Men. Yeah. I mean, you know, they were just driving along, and then all of a sudden this minivan. They're probably not even. It's just
came out of nowhere and just
Exactly. So absolutely awful, but unfortunately. it will remain a mystery, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think, unless somehow they can get answers, but I don't see how, because I think all the witnesses, they sadly died.
Yeah.
And as you said, Brian was, too young at the time to remember probably fully what happened, or he's blocked it out, or I don't know.
It's just going to remain a mystery.
It is. So there you go.
Okay, well, thank you to everybody for listening. If you would like to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, we are crime_divers_pod. If you would like to email us, it's crime_divers_pod@outlook.com. Our YouTube is Crime Divers Podcast. TikTok is Crime Divers Podcast, which is all one word. You could, if you wanted to financially support the pod, you can nip on over to buymeacoffee.com/crimedivers. You can make a wee donation, just for the price of a cup of coffee. Or if you would like to join our Patreon, where you can get bonus episodes, early access, ad-free, head on over to patreon.com/crimedivers.
And find us there.
Yeah.
And if you haven't already, as always, please don't forget to subscribe, rate and review.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.